Do you find yourself in situations where arguments just go on and on? You don't know how to end them. They keep spiraling out of control. And maybe you guys just give up on the argument, go your separate ways, but you're not sure, what you should be doing in these situations. Is this really helping or is this hurting what you're doing? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you what you want to do after an argument. So maybe you weren't able to prevent it and maybe you had to go through with it. Now, how do you wrap it up all neatly in a bow so that you're not creating more distance between the two of you? You're actually having arguments, and at the end, you feel stronger as a couple together. Well, in today's video, we're going to talk all about that. I am so excited to have you here. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Mireille Nicole. I'm a relationship coach. And if you've been here before, thanks so much for tuning in again. I'm excited to have you here, as always, watching these amazing videos. So I hope this one gets you really excited because this is such a huge one. And I'm going to do, like I did in my last video about what to do during an argument, I'm going to start this off and I'm just going to put this all in context for you in a story, a personal story of mine in my relationship with my husband. And this actually happened not too long ago. So I want to stress the fact that when I'm sharing these videos with tips and mindset approaches for your relationship, these are things you're going to use all the time, whether your relationship is sideways or rocky, or if things are going really well. These are things you want to be doing consciously and intentionally on a regular basis to really strengthen that bond between the two of you. So for those of you who are new here, just to give you a quick background on my story, I was divorced, and then after divorce, I found my dream man. But as our relationship was carrying on, things were started getting really rocky, going sideways, because I didn't have the tools or the mindset approaches that I share with you in these videos. But as soon as I learned all this valuable information and really started working on implementing it, that's when my dream man got down on one knee, proposed to me. We've been married and happily married ever since. So here's the story. And this story is actually super recent. This happened back in November 2022. My husband has his birthday in the month of November. He is a Scorpio. And so I had planned this get together for him, this weekend away, I should say, just the two of us, this nice romantic getaway just in a nearby town. And I had reserved this awesome little, not an Airbnb, it was some sort of cool hipster motel thing that was all renovated, really fun. And there was a restaurant there, a really cool restaurant. So I had planned this getaway for him. And it happened to be on a Friday when at work, he also had a lunch with his coworkers to go to. And I was really hoping we'd leave early from work to go to our little getaway and kickstart his birthday off early on. So anyway, so when he left, I'm like, okay, well, we have to leave at a certain time to go to this place I had reserved. And he was like, okay, whatever. And then he goes off, and then I'm there getting ready, waiting for him, looking at my watch, and just time was ticking, and we were really getting close to the time when we were supposed to leave. And this, I have to say, comes also from some work that I hadn't completely finished doing on myself, right? So some of this related to some trauma from when our relationship was rocky and going sideways, where there were situations where it was taking a long time for him to come back from work and stuff, and I was getting really sensitive to it. And I have to say that one of the reasons we hadn't been, I hadn't done so much healing towards that is because the pandemic happened. So he wasn't going out, in situations like this. So I didn't have the opportunity to work on it. So as the time was ticking by and he comes back pretty much at the last minute, I was feeling upset. It was bringing stuff up for me that had, happened earlier on in our relationship. Like I said, when things were rocky. So that had totally killed my mood. And he could tell that I was, bummed out about it, that, we got ready, we hurried, we left, pretty much on time. So it was all good, but it was really impacting, my mood, and the conversation started getting tense. And you could say everything was kind of like an argument when we were talking, because I was really frustrated. And then he did a super important relationship tool that I'm going to talk to you about today to turn things around, a tool that you're going to want to use, in actual arguments too. So this was kind of more like frustration, but I wanted to use this because it's such a clear illustration and a recent relevant, instance that happened in our relationship. So he could tell that, I was still mad. I was still, bothered by this. And we were in the car, we were off to our little getaway, and he puts his hand on my arm and he says, Mireille, it's going to be like a great weekend. We're going to have so much fun. Be happy. It's the weekend. And back in the day, something like that would have like totally sent me off the edge. Like I would have been totally frustrated. Like, how can you tell me to have fun? How can you tell me everything's going to be good when this happened and you did this and I was expecting this and I told you to be there at a certain time, right? Like these are all things that normally would have gone on in my mind. But from doing the work and just knowing these skills now and catching myself, having this awareness, I was able to catch on to what was happening and really use that moment, like take that moment and turn everything around so that it was good again. So when he said that, the light bulb went off in my head and I took it. And after that, I was able to get back on track in terms of my mood. We got there. We had a wonderful supper. The place was super like cool hipster, really like old vinyls, like this great vibe. And we had a great time. And it's all because of that specific tool that he used and me recognizing it and then me being able to shift over the mood, right? And the whole sentiment after this quote unquote arguments, or picture yourself using this during an actual argument. So that's my little story. And I'm going to break it down in this one for the 2 steps. I'd say 2 steps in terms of what to do after the argument or to end the argument. So what my husband was doing when he was putting his hand on my arm and saying, Mireille, it's going to be a great weekend. We're going to have so much fun, be happy. This is what is he a doctor? I don't know if he's a doctor. Let's just say John Gottman. All right. This is what John Gottman would call a repair attempt, relationship expert from the Gottman Institute, a repair attempt. And this is a very, very important tool to help navigate conflict in a relationship and a big determination of whether or not a relationship is going to survive all the challenges and the obstacles that are brought its way. So I was able to identify that as soon as it happened, luckily. And this is going to be huge for you. Think of instances where, maybe on the spot, it sounded really annoying, frustrating, irritating, where maybe your husband was trying to shift things around and maybe you didn't take it, right? You kept going. You found it insulting. This is actually when you can step back and really see this for what it is. Normally, this is a tool that people use, whether consciously or unconsciously, to really stop things from escalating, from those arguments spiraling out of control. When people have had enough and they just need a break, right, to recoup before anything gets said that is regretted later on, or, they didn't really mean to say. These are all very intentional tools that you can use to better the dynamic in your relationship. So I really encourage you to look, at past situations, past arguments, where have repair attempts been used? And there are other examples. Let me see here on my phone. I have written down a few repair attempts. So they might not always look like that, right? And they might not all be loving and nice like my husband did in the moment. They could be just someone saying, let's start over. Let's take a break. Wait, I need to calm down. Or the famous Esther Perel, amazing relationship expert, says, I'm not doing justice to this conversation. I need a break and I'll be back. And just like giving yourself a chance to just kind of break the pattern or break, the moment, whatever is happening, to just take a step away. Or one actually I used on my husband not too long ago. I think it must have been around the same time. And I think it was during the month of November when he had a mustache, like, men put the mustache to raise awareness for men's cancers and stuff. And he had a mustache and we were arguing. And at one point I saw it was going nowhere. And I just looked at him. I said, babe, I just can't take you seriously with that mustache. And he had like the Tom Selleck style facial hair going. So just another example, right? And we were able to laugh about it and just come back to it at another time. So that's number 1. Number 2, the second step to this after the argument is when I was talking about how my mood was able to shift drastically after that, right? So another important thing you want to look at after the argument is just your mood. What is the overall sentiment? What is the vibe after the argument? Are you guys just going your separate ways and not talking to each other? Or are you coming together? And like my example here for my husband's birthday, after that, we were able to come together and have a wonderful, fun weekend together. Whereas I know in the past when things were really, really challenging and we didn't have all the tools, after the argument, we would be both going our separate ways and we'd be kind of, like ruminating or kind of frustrating. And eventually we'd forget, or we thought we'd forget about it, come back together, but it was never really bringing us closer together, right? So when you start using things like repair attempts and these tools and really being conscious of the vibe, you can intentionally start leaning towards each other and not lean away from each other, which starts creating problems in the relationship, right? When you can lean towards, you get to overcome these arguments together and grow and get satisfaction from them in terms of, knowing that you guys are moving forward together. You guys are just getting over things and working through things and the satisfaction that comes from that. So that is what I wanted to share with you guys today. So those two kind of steps after the argument or to end the argument would be number one, start using and recognizing repair attempts with your husband or from recognizing them from your husband. And number two, really paying attention to that vibe, right? And if you can get a repair attempt, it's going to be so much easier to work on your vibe. I hope this was interesting. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the comments below. I will get back to them. I'm so excited to have you here. I promise to keep putting out these wonderful videos. If you want to support the videos, if you want to support my channel, please subscribe. Let's get us up to 1,000 subscribers. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.